All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always, it is
Matty Juice. What's going on, everybody? I was recently at the dentist, so if I sound a little weird, it's because I've got my mouth is numb, but I should be able to get through it, no problem. Hopefully,
no, you sound totally normal, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a good thing that I guess I've been drinking this Pellegrino, and I feel like an idiot because I'm just like I feel like it's about to fall out at any second.
I was about to be like, let's not like dunk on Pellegrino drinkers out there. Look at me, I'm an idiot with my Pellegrino. Damn, man.
That's a different conversation.
I'm more of a Perrier man anyway.
As am I. Yes, Perrier. Yeah.
It's got a little more of like oomph to it.
Yeah, Pellegrino to me is a little like it's almost like it's flatter, right?
It is flatter.
Yeah, which I prefer like a little bit more carbonation, I guess. A little bit of that tinkle.
Me too. Yeah. And I mean, not for nothing. Perrier?
Yeah, Perrier, I think. Yeah.
French.
Pierre.
French.
Yeah.
Pellegrino. Italian.
Yeah.
Whose side of World War II were each of those countries on? And that's the sparkling waters I drink, folks.
There we go.
Axis or allies. That's, God forbid, there's a German.
Ooh.
A German sparkling water. Anyway, what are we talking about? Listen, we got a great show for you all today. We're going to be talking about a game called Undead West. A nice little indie game, I think, out of maybe Australia, I think it was. I think it was part of a fest where, it was on promotion for a fest, kind of promoting games from that region of the world, which is kind of fun. So we'll be talking about that. We're going to catch up a little bit. We have we'll go over what happened at the Game Awards, and we'll answer some listener questions. But first, we do have to talk about our weeks.
Yeah.
What's up? What are you up to?
Yeah. So, wow, that's a really tiny banner in the bottom left. I just catch up, just like little tiny thing. No, I had a pretty busy weekend. Let's see. I don't remember what I did Friday, but Saturday, let's see, did a bunch of, what did I do? I did dog training as we do every Saturday morning, which is fine. And then also went to a concert, which was good. Hung out with our buddy Bags and his fiance. And we had some pizza he made for us. He makes great Detroit style pizza. Even made a little focaccia, which was good. A little focaccia. And just fun to say, And what else? The concert was solid. It was just so it was Maria's first time seeing. We saw Streetlight Manifesto, which is Bags and myself, one of our favorite bands. And we haven't seen them in a while, so we were like, all right, it's time to see them again. They're supposed to be coming out with a new album. So we were like, maybe they'll play like a song or two from the new album. It didn't seem like that happened, although we didn't stay the entire time. And the reason for that was just because, it was Maria's first time seeing Streetlight. It was his fiance's first time seeing Streetlight. And we were just like, they didn't really have a good angle. Like at the venue we were at Starland Ballroom. And for whatever reason, the tallest people possible kept going in front of us, including a guy that he was like 6'4", and I'm pretty sure he was blind. I don't want to assume, but he had the cane. And we were just like, it was just a weird situation. And we kept like getting bumped into like a lot. Anyway, so,
maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know he was that tall.
True. I mean, that's a possibility, but he was with somebody. They could have let him know. But it's fine. I got a vinyl, which was there, one of their albums, which is good. Cheaper to get it there than online. So I was happy about that. And they sounded great. Even like Maria said, they sounded great. It was just like, if we're going to see him again, we're going to do it at a different venue where like we have a better like vantage point, or maybe a seat or something like that. So yeah, it was just kind of like a weird vibe for whatever reason at the show. But regardless, they sounded great. And then on Sunday, I did a bunch of stuff around the house, brought the Christmas tree in, got that all set up. Just did a ton of just house stuff. Watched the Eagles beat the Steelers, which was good. It was a good watch. And then, today, just worked, and also Pluto, our dog, for those who don't know, the listeners, took a poop in the house. So that was good. Yeah, he did it last week, but it was our fault. Like, we should have taken him out, and I guess for whatever reason we forgot or whatever. And I have a video clip of it, but he came over to us, and Maria's like, "Oh man, like." He farted, like he's got to go out. And I'm like, that smells worse than a fart. And I like turned the corner with my phone flashlight, and I'm like, oh, he took a shit in the dining room. So I like Swiffered it. I steam mopped it. Like we were doing everything, lighting candles, like cleaning everything up. And then today he did it again, but we don't know why. Really, because he was just outside. Like, so now we're like, does he think it's okay to do it? He did it in the same spot. So now we need to figure out what the hell's going on with him there. But that was just not fun, because then you got to yell at him, and, he gets all sad and everything like that. But so just having to deal with that and using carpet cleaners and steam cleaners, and it's just a lot. It's been a lot lately, Tom. I went to the dentist. I'm wiped out, but it's been an eventful week, and I can't wait to be off next week for some holiday fun. I'm very excited. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, how have you been?
I'm good. It's kind of funny you said you were lighting candles. It's as if you were mourning something. My week. So last week was my last week in my old job. I am no longer in the beer industry, and like you would expect, I had a pretty big send off. I was really close with my team. I'm still friends with everybody I worked with at the brewery, and they were really great. They were like, you're always part of the family. Anytime you want to come back, blah 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 blah. We're gonna miss you, and that was really sweet. I still felt like it was my time to move on, but it was nice to hear that. But on Thursday was kind of my last night. We had an event down in South Jersey, and I was there. My boss was there. My regional boss was there. Like the two guys I was the closest with, our rep from Philly and our rep from Allentown, Pennsylvania. So like the Valley, the Lehigh Valley, and we're all close. We're all really close, and we're all like to drink. So and it was a good time. It was an event, and we have a holiday beer that's very high octane. So of course we didn't technically start the night. We started the event with the beer. We were at another bar before. I had a couple Guineas and Guinnesses, not Guineas.
Wow, that's a crazy night. Yeah, it's a crazy start.
And so come the night end, I don't really remember much. None of my bosses do. We get back to the hotel safe and sound, Ubered. I remember the Uber, that's for sure. And my regional manager was like, how did I get back to the hotel? I'm like, you were in the Uber with me. And, the next day, not feeling so great. But it's rare that you get to see the damage, right? And I shared this with Matt and some other friends. We got my boss, who put it on his card for expenses. He wasn't just buying it all. Showed the bar tab $800.
Yeah,
of booze, just
drinks.
Yeah, I don't think there was any food on there, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
It was a lot of beer, and it's some sneaky shots, some Irish car bombs, which my boss was like, "Oh yeah, the last thing I remember is the Irish car bombs." I was like, "I don't remember the Irish car bombs." So, needless to say, it's probably a good thing I'm not in the industry anymore. but it was a fun send off.
Yeah.
Then over the weekend, kind of just got ready for the new job. Went out to dinner on Friday with my friend Kurt and his girlfriend. That was fun. But started the new job today. Corporate. It was really exciting. Really, like honestly, I felt like my life was in danger in a good way, and the adrenaline was pumping all day, and I can't wait to go back tomorrow. It's going to be great, and I love it. Corporate America, I'm coming for you, Tommy Corporates. So yeah, that was my week. So
Yeah.
I'm a little tired too. It was like I woke up pretty early. Didn't really sleep much last night because I was watching the Packers. But here we are.
There you go. Yeah. Now, how are you getting up earlier for the new job or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, with the last job, it was roll out of bed whenever and start my day. Because it was my own schedule. But now, I'm probably gonna work like 8 to 4.
Yeah.
And it's about like a 35-minute drive. On the 3 days of the week, I go in, and I'm hybrid the other 2 weeks. There are 2 days. So I try to get up around 6, leave the house around 7.
Mm-hmm.
At least I did today. We'll see if I do the same tomorrow. Well, who knows? I'm going to be the unpredictable coworker. Is Tom coming in today? But that is my week. But we do have
nice.
We got news.
Yeah, we do.
We got news. We got Discord.
Oh, it's been bumping.
It has been bumping.
It's been bumping a bit there, with the food picks. We got listener questions in there. We're talking about Balatro. We're talking about the Game Awards in there. It's been good. It's been good. So be sure to join if you're not in there. Ooh, cracked it open. There it is.
Cleaned it out. Yeah, so it is great, and that is great news. But the Game Awards did happen. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Astrobot won.
It did. Game of the year, which there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack there, I think, with that. But I would like to address Balatro first, because I know we were talking about it last show. We were hoping for the Balatro sweep. I think it was nominated for 5 different Game Awards, ended up winning 3 of them. Pretty good, Good. Best indie game, best debut indie, and best mobile game. So congrats to Local Thunk. We love that game, obviously, and took home those awards. But what is also great is that the Game of the Year winner, Astrobot, was also nominated for Best Game Direction, which Balatro was also nominated for, and Astrobot won that. So it's almost like Astrobot and Balatro really combined to really sweep, I guess you could say. But yeah, Astrobot won Game of the Year. A little surprising for me that it did, just because I just thought that Elden Ring kind of had it, just because it's Elden Ring and I know it's a DLC. I didn't want it to win. I am happy though that Astrobot won, but there has been a lot of discourse online, Tom, of people very upset that another game didn't win, and that's Black Myth Wukong.
Which, okay, first of all, if you go back to last episode, I did say I called my shot that Astrobot was going to win.
True. Give him the props.
Yep,
Wait. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. I understand why people might be upset here, but also, like I was saying before, I watched gameplay and it looked cool or whatever, but it didn't look, and from what I've heard, the gameplay was not on the par of things like Elden Ring, which is DLC, whatever. I think that's why that didn't win. And even like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like things like that, that's going to up the ante on certain gameplay elements. And there are also some arguments here to be made about the impact of Black Myth Wukong, and that it was I think I'm quoting Pirate Software here, that a Eastern story from an Eastern company came into the West and really dominated, even got nominated, was a big enough thing for it to win Game of the Year. However, it's just it's an 8 out of 10. Those
Yeah.
other games are 9 out of 10s, and that's what I prefer, right? I think that, you know, certain games having impact is really great, but they should also be 9 out of 10s, or at least be on the same level, right? I forget what won 2020s.
I'm actually looking that up right now. So 2020 was The Last of Us Part 2, but Ghost of Tsushima was nominated.
And Animal Crossing, I'm sure.
Animal Crossing was nominated, yep. Also, I'm pretty sure that not to, I don't know enough about Black Myth Wukong, but Sekiro 2019. Isn't that? I mean, I don't want to generalize.
Oh no, that's a Japanese story. I kind of generalized by saying Eastern story from an Eastern company. I guess it's really Chinese. The Chinese story from a Chinese company, I guess, is probably what I should have really said. But because I guess there are plenty of Japanese stories from Japanese companies that we've seen do well. But to the point of 2020, if a bunch of 9 out of 10s were nominated and you wanted the game with the most impact to win, I truly believe Animal Crossing should have won that year. It had the biggest impact. There's no doubt about it. People were rolling out of bed and texting their friends, "What are your turnip prices?"
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
They were doing that.
Yeah, and me included.
Yeah. We had a group chat.
We did.
And I know that we're not the only ones. And it was all different kinds of age groups and whatever. And listen, that game's still being played a lot today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about games like Last of Us Part 2. It's a one and done, I think. I mean, some people might revisit it. So it's crazy to think that the impact is going to be enough in this Game Award show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we didn't see Black Myth Wukong take it. But it also was not as good of a game as the other games. And Balatro should have won anyway.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And, I know we talked a little bit about this before the show. And kind of, my stance on it is just there's always going to be arguments for every nominee. That's why they were nominated, right? To win Game of the Year. Just because a game didn't win Game of the Year doesn't mean that someone can't think it's better than the game that won Game of the Year. But I think this shows that the majority of the journalists on the judging panel and the community votes thought that Astrobot deserved it. And I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's just like Mario for Sony or whatever." And that might be true. Obviously, they even said kind of in the acceptance speech, they didn't mention Nintendo, but they said that they basically were like, it's awesome that you can make a game inspired by those old school Super Mario games and it can still resonate with people. And I think Astrobot also did a lot of interesting things with the controller, which we haven't really seen a lot of because it was a demo. It started as a demo where you would just test out things on the PS5, and now it's a full-fledged game. So I think there's a lot of reason that Astrobot won. I think it's great. I also obviously wanted Balatro to win as well. But seeing in one of our stories was about how the Game Science devs who made Black Myth Wukong were upset at the Game Awards. They were crying when Astrobot won. Then the producer for the game released an article basically saying they were surprised that Black Myth Wukong didn't win. But I have to honestly say, as someone, I feel like I have my, finger on the pulse of the gaming industry generally. I'm always, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Reddit, I'm seeing what people say on streams, all that sort of stuff. I've never seen so many people talk about Black Myth Wukong other than after it lost. Where was all that? I remember being talked about when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel like it just kind of faded away. And not a lot of people were really talking about it. And I just can't help but think that it was maybe people are over exaggerating of the of why it should have won Game of the Year. And I also do know it's from what I've seen, it doesn't have a lot of gameplay in it. It's a
Mhm.
lot of like cinematics, which I think is really hard for a game to win Game of the Year when it's not fully focused on gameplay. I know The Last of Us Part 2 won, but there's a lot of different interesting gameplay elements in that, and God of War has won before. But I almost feel like Black Myth Wukong, from the gameplay I've seen, it's almost like these quick time events that happen where an enemy is going to attack you and then you have to press a button at a certain time and then it kind of goes into another animation, and like I don't know, just games like that I just feel like they have the odds stacked against them, because then you really have to buy into the story and the setting. And if that's not your thing, which, as we know, like we're not people that are into a lot of Eastern sort of stuff, I would say, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So like it probably wouldn't resonate with me if I play. That's why I haven't played Black Myth Wukong, because I'm just like, I'm not really, doesn't really seem that interesting to me. And maybe, that's what the judging panel thought as well. And I also think Astrobot does something that Black Myth Wukong can't do, and that's be like family friendly as well.
Mhm.
Like, how many people have probably played like with their kids? Like it just opens up the market for that game, and gets a lot more people playing. And that could also be a reason that Balatro didn't win too, is maybe, people just thought it was like poker. And
You don't like gambling,
yeah, exactly.
kid?
There's a whole nother story with Balatro too. I don't know if you saw about the Peggy rating that it had. It got like an 18 plus Peggy rating, and
When it first came out, and it was like a whole issue.
yeah, well, Local Thunk recently, I guess I don't know, I guess it got graded again, maybe for mobile or something. I'm not really sure, but he was like, "Oh, why don't I just put loot boxes in it, and then you'll give it like a 3+ rating, just like the EA games." Yeah, so I saw him stirring the pot there a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I don't. I think people that get too invested in what wins Game of the Year are silly. I think I understand the devs put a lot of time in it. Black Myth Wukong will still get a good amount of sales from this because of all this press that's happening now. It's going to have more eyes on it. It's almost like the Dead Cells effect too, or that whole plagiarism thing that happened. So, yeah, I happy for Astrobot. Sorry, Black Myth Wukong didn't win, but in my eyes, I just didn't think it, I didn't even consider it to win because it was stacked up against Elden Ring. I mentioned that last week. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, that's like the thing, and you saw that the I guess creators were complaining and crying and wrote a blog post. Honestly, I look at that, I'm like, they are just trying to drum up more sales, which is fine. That's the whole point of making a game, is to sell it, right? So whatever, this will all fade away, and hopefully the next game they make it does it. Maybe it won't be like the coolest cinematic you've ever seen with like mediocre gameplay, and and that's it. Now, one little thing, ending on the high note, coinciding with I think the day of the Game Awards, Balatro released another surprise new Friends of Jimbo update.
Yeah.
Cult of the Lamb, Enter the Gungeon, which is we're going to actually talk about in a decent bit in a few. Golly, what was it? Was it Cyberpunk?
I think it. No, Cyberpunk. I think is already in there. It's Friends of Jimbo 3, right?
Was it?
Let's see.
Larian Studios, something, right?
Oh, Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking to see. Oh, you got Shovel Knight in there.
Shovel Knight, yeah.
Yep.
It was a sick update.
You got Warframe, Potion Craft, Don't Starve, Enter the Gungeon. I guess Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know. It's not saying it's in here, at least in the trailer. Warframe, yeah. Thousand Resist. I don't even know what that is. Divinity, Original Sin 2.
Oh, Divinity was
yeah.
It's very similar.
That's Larian as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, great timing. That's what we were talking about that last week. Like Local Thunk, he just has good timing.
Yeah.
With like so many things. But yeah, I haven't checked out the update though. Have you?
Yeah, I updated I definitely put the Cult of the Lamb because they're the hearts. I put that in there. I mean, it's like, whatever. I just like to make my cards look the coolest they can. So that was it. The Shovel Knight ones look awesome as well. So
Yeah.
I put, it's all games I've played. So right now I think it's Slay the Spire, Cult of the Lamb, Shovel Knight, and Slay the Spire. So I think those are the four I'm using. But yeah, super sick. Can't wait for the content update. But like, I'm not going to complain about free like skins.
Yeah,
Like of a game I'm already playing a ton of. So it's pretty neat, and it's a nice way to highlight games that people haven't maybe played before. Yeah. Oh, also Enter the Gungeon I'm definitely using that. I don't know what I replaced it with, but hey, listen, Enter the Gungeon though, more like Enter the Undead West.
Oh,
the game that we are about to review. This is from developer Deathless Games, published by Retro Vibe. It's on Steam, currently on sale till December 23rd for 10% off for a whopping $8. Not too bad. A Western-themed roguelike bullet hell where the player uses an array of weapons, whiskey infusions, and buffs gained from defeating bosses to complete each stage. So, Undead West. Gameplay-wise, I've mentioned Enter the Gungeon quite a few times. If you are familiar with that game, you're going to be very familiar with this gameplay. A bullet hell, kind of somewhat not procedurally generated, but close to. You could tell that there's repeat rooms here, but it's on a pretty small scale compared to something like Enter the Gungeon. Running around, you're this little cowboy, and you're trying to beat enemies and go from room to room and beat bosses. It's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of controls here that you need to know. You are aiming. I used mouse and keyboard, and I also used my controller. Both worked fine for me. I know you had some issues initially, but you're going to talk about that. But I felt both were pretty clean. Some guns were easier on mouse and keyboard, and some guns were totally fine on the controller. So you're running around, you're shooting and aiming like a twin stick, and you have X amount of bullets. They reload automatically, or you can click reload, and then you have buffs. These are these whiskeys. You drink whiskey, and as you unlock more, you'll get different kinds of whiskeys you can drink. The first one just kind of makes your bullets stronger for a hot minute. And that's the game. You kind of go through, I think, like 9 rooms and then a boss, and then you have to go to the next level, like biome kind of thing. And then I believe there were 6 total. I did not beat it. It is a hard game. I would say this gameplay is a little bit repetitive, but also fun. I kept playing it and over again. I will say I had an initial complaint that actually got fixed within like the first 2 days. I think they had like a big patch where the unlocks were just too expensive. Like you just played forever before you even unlocked something. And that was kind of a bummer, but then they fixed it even though I had already unlocked something. So like I already like did all the work, but it's kind of cool. You have like 3 rooms you can unlock, and each room has a different kind of thing that you can buy upgrades for. You have like skins in one room, and then you have the armory in the other room where you buy different guns, sawed-off shotgun, rifle, yada, yada, yada. And then there is the bar where you'll buy different whiskeys that you bring into the runs. As far as a game that is not the most deep, it's very arcade style, right? Like where you look at something like Enter the Gungeon, I don't want to continue to compare it to it, but it is the closest thing we have to reference. it is not as deep of an experience, but it is a lot cheaper game and a much smaller team. It's not Devolver, right? And I like the gameplay. I think at times it could be a little bit repetitive, but I think for what you're getting, I think it was totally fine. There were a couple of issues I had where I would get stuck on something I couldn't really tell what that was. That might fall into the art side of things, but that's where I felt that I kind of landed with this game. I just kind of kept playing it. And I was like, well, I kind of want to see what the next gun does. I want to see what the next whiskey does, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I agree. For me, just so the listeners know, I did have some issues that were totally my fault for playing this game. I did one play session, and then everything was fine. And then for whatever reason, which I will explain shortly, my future play sessions, I could not move my mouse. I didn't know. I first had that in the performance section here, but it turns out that it was because I had. Before I played my second session of Undead West, I played another game with my controller. And so my controller was like sitting over by where my PC is. And I guess because it was plugged in, that's why I couldn't use my mouse in the game. Which is interesting that you were able to use controller because it actually says it doesn't support controller on Steam. So I was like, oh, that's why. Like I had something plugged in that it doesn't support, but I guess it does work with controller. So that was my own fault. But then when I realized that, I did play, a handful more of the runs, and yeah, I can definitely say like this game is really easy to just pick up and play and kill some time with. It gives me kind of like mobile game vibes, or even like it might just be the art style, but it reminds me of like Minute. That game where you just have a minute to like do as much as you can in your life, and then you die, and then you have to keep kind of living minute by minute. And it's definitely like inspired by the art style, but just an easy game to pick up and just play and try to get as far as you can. I really did enjoy that aspect of the gameplay, where very easy to pick up. Like you said, it's not too complicated. You just WASD and you're using the mouse to shoot. And then you're hitting Q to use your whiskey, and then you're hitting E to interact with things, and that's basically the entire game. I did enjoy the variety of the different rooms as well. You can even see we'll talk about the art, but I think they look cool. And I did find that like every time I would go into a new room, like I was just like excited to see what the layout was. Some rooms you're fighting enemies, other rooms you're trying to kind of get through like a maze, and then obviously there's like boss rooms. Some rooms are like a combination of maze and enemies. Some rooms have multiple waves of enemies, some don't. It's so it had a good variety there. By the way, the room we're watching right now on the YouTube stream, hate this room because of that thing in the middle. For whatever reason, it's like my kryptonite. And you can. I also I like that you can get hearts. You can discover hearts like when you break barrels or certain things that you find, which is great, because I feel like when I play a game like this, I'm usually thinking, oh, okay, like this is my full max life, and I can't get any more than this during my run. Maybe I can upgrade it outside the run, but no, you can still get some health, which is good. I was not able to beat I was close, the first boss, but this is definitely a game that the gameplay is simple enough where I just feel like I could just hop in, whenever I really want to kill a little bit of time. It's fun. I want to try to unlock as many things as I can, try out all the different guns, try out the different whiskeys that you can get, and obviously like the different skins for the character. So overall, like I think this game achieved what it was setting out to do from a gameplay standpoint, just being something simple, something that like keeps you engaged from room to room, and also has a decent amount of challenge behind it too. I never really felt like any of the rooms were like super easy, maybe like the first two, because it's just kind of like introducing you. But you can definitely, you definitely get into some rooms where you need to pay attention because there's a lot of projectiles going on, and you just need to try to avoid them, as well as, kill all the enemies so it unlocks the next room. And one thing I will say though, is that I found the game to be a lot easier not easy, but definitely a lot easier with an option in the settings. There's an auto shoot option. So, I shouldn't say auto shoot, but basically, by default, every bullet you shoot has to be a mouse click. There's an option in the settings where if you just hold the button down on your mouse, it'll just keep shooting. I found that to be a lot easier for me to just. It looks like this didn't loop this gameplay here. There we go. Yeah, I just found that to be a lot easier because then you're kind of like less, it allows you to focus on some other things in the room and focus on dodging all the obstacles. I think that part of it was good. If I had any critiques with the gameplay, I think it would be cool to have some more interactable items in the rooms. Maybe when you get to the other biomes, there's like some more stuff for you to interact with, but you have like explosive barrels like we're seeing here. But I don't know, it could be cool. I was kind of thinking of like Sworn, which we talked about a few episodes ago, where sometimes you enter a room and there's like a little kind of shop in that room, and you're like, oh, let me spend my money right now versus like trying to spend it when I'm done with the run. Maybe I can get a little upgrade, or maybe I could buy a heart, something like that. I don't know if I didn't run across that, at least in the first biome in this game, but that would be one critique with the gameplay is I just like maybe in the rooms just having like interactable element every now and then, maybe even a trap you can set off, something like that. Could be cool. But overall the gameplay though was fun and simple, and I'll definitely be playing more of it. And I also think the story elements here, it doesn't really have I would say like a full-fledged story, but what did you think about the story in this game?
I mean, it was kind of cool. Like they give you a nice little setup, right? Where, oh man, that screen looks great.
That one, yeah.
It's a nice little setup where there's this kind of legendary shooter that kind of like dies or something like that, where and you kind of have to, like, you are that shooter and you have to kind of redeem yourself. You have to like to show death that you can get through to the end of this challenge to kind of like redeem yourself, and you're not like damned for eternity, which is just like, simple kind of like fun video gamey stuff, and it set the scene well, and holy smokes, and not much to say beyond that. I mean, I didn't even think they would give us anything like that, right? And they had some cool characters in the main area. You had Death, you had the blacksmith, you had the tailor and the bartender. So like, you get some cool stuff. And then, to be honest, like the bosses, very, very cool. I think the bosses were sweet, as well as the characters. Like even the enemies. That goes more to design, but like just kind of gives a nice little bit of character to the game. That's why I'm kind of feeling it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it definitely wasn't a game where I was expecting there to be any really story elements. But yeah, when you're kind of back in that like lobby area with the blacksmith and the bartender and the tailor, it's cool that they kind of give you a little bit of care, I guess pun intended, character with the game, and kind of give you a little bit of kind of a interesting vibe, I guess, overall. I enjoyed like the Death or like the Reaper, just everything that he kind of says in the beginning that kind of explain everything. So yeah, I wasn't really looking for too much story. I agree about the bosses as well. I think that's something also on the art side that was pretty cool. At least, the boss I came across that I couldn't beat, but I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Especially even on the gameplay side, I kind of didn't talk about this. Like the mechanics for the boss are like something that you haven't seen for, up until that point. So that's cool too, because you're learning that as well. But no like super, serious story elements here. Didn't expect too much with this game, but definitely the art though is I think the thing that a lot of people are going to notice first with the game, obviously, because it just kind of has this really interesting retro art style. What did you think about the art?
Yeah, this is actually kind of what drew me to the game initially because I played the demo first for just like a hot minute. And I was like, hey, and then I reached out to you. I was like, hey, this game comes out tomorrow. Do you want to review it? I kind of really fell in love with this art style. I love, there's a game called Bleak Sword. If anybody ever played that, it was like one of like the launch titles on Apple Arcade, but like now there's like a full Steam version as well. That's really sick. That's kind of like, I would say like Dark Souls version of this, which is also pretty sweet. I do recommend that game. And I kind of love the pops of red. Certainly just like I mentioned the character design and the enemy design, especially the boss design, because I think it's random. It's random which boss you run into. It's probably like one or two that you run into. But I ran into the cube multiple times, and I also ran into like the Rat King or whatever. Yeah. That was so sick. It's just a beautiful looking game. Like I kind of love that black and white pop of a primary color into the game is so sick. Now I will say sometimes I wish and I would like, especially the things that you can interact with that would give you like something, because there's every once in a while there's like the chest or whatever that you can pop open to maybe get more money or to get like a heart. I wish that had a little bit of color to it, whether it's more red or even just like give it blue, because you know you see some green and stuff like that throughout the game as well. Maybe they use blue in the later levels. It is a challenging game, as we've said, but all that being said, I think that it's a beautiful game. There were a couple times, and this is kind of like the downside of making a game that looks like this, that I would like run into something I couldn't move and I'd die because I couldn't tell that I was running into something. But yeah, I can't really count it against the game too much, because that's why the game looks so cool, is because it kind of has that flat, very contrasty thing going on. So big fan of everything aesthetically here.
I agree. I think, the game that's what drew me in as well. Like when you had sent it to me, I was like, oh, like this all looks awesome. And then I kind of took a look at like the gameplay second. I love when games are kind of in this art style, very simple, but also very detailed at the same time, which is really great, especially like a room like this where it's got these like piles of skulls. It just looks really cool. And I agree about like the pop of color. I would like to see, I agree. I had that in my notes about like some of the interactable items, like I didn't know I could interact with at first. So maybe if there was some sort of indication there, a different color, whatever it might be, that lets you know that you can interact with that, I think that would be good as well. But also maybe that's part of the challenge too, is that some of these things kind of blend in with the game. So maybe that was intentional. And then I think also the enemy design was pretty solid overall, especially the slimes. I like how the slime leaves a trail and then it kind of like fades away. At first I was like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's because it's a slime. It's leaving its trail behind it. So little details like that are really well done. There is some stuff that I wish that they would have done differently with the art. And I guess it kind of goes into like the coloring, but for example, like one of the rooms that it was just on screen, a few seconds ago, but it's a room that kind of has these two spinning pillars that have these like four kind of, I guess, like fire, defenses coming out of it that are kind of rotating. But then you also in that room can have like a bunch of archer enemies, and they shoot arrows that are red, which is the same as like those big fire beams. So I was losing the arrows pretty often in that. And I think part of it is because obviously it's like the same color, but also there's like the layering is weird with like you can watch a slime walk over like a fire beam, but technically from how I'm thinking about it, it should be going under it. Like it's not like the slime's hopping over it. So it kind of it almost looked like there was a glitch or like that. the behavior shouldn't have been like the pathing shouldn't have been like that. Just from like a visual standpoint, like it's fine that the path was straight through the fire. It just like the fire should go over the slime. So that just kind of threw me off because then it makes me think, well, what exactly can I run into, or like what exactly is a wall and what exactly isn't a wall? So I had a little bit of trouble sometimes not realizing, oh, I can walk over this. Like I would think I'm stuck in a certain part of the room, but it turns out, oh no, these are like stairs. They're not. It's not actually a wall. So little things like that kind of just kind of were a minor annoyance, but it's something that you end up learning. And there's those slimes in that room right there, leaving those cool trails. Pretty cool stuff there. But I think that it's got this old school retro vibe. I mentioned like there's another game, Minute, that kind of reminds me of this one because it also does like the black and white, retro pixelated sort of rooms. And then, I think even like the different outfits and stuff you can get for your characters is good. My favorite thing in the game is the boss design. I actually kept getting the rat boss, so I wasn't. I didn't get the cube at all, but that sounds awesome. Some sort of cube enemy.
There's like a giant slime cube.
Okay, yeah. So that sounds awesome. And there's even like, at least with the rat enemy, like he's got like a gas attack that he does. So there's a lot of green that's filling up the screen. So it's cool how they also incorporate color with like the bosses having the different mechanics that you're not used to, because they're like, oh, like you immediately like, oh, this is different than what I've seen before in the previous rooms just because of the color. So I think that was really well done with the game. It's just kind of these like smaller things that just kind of might confuse a newer player. You're like, oh, I thought I couldn't walk through this, but now I actually can. So that was just the really small nitpick with it. But I think the art is fantastic in the game. And there's the mutant rat. There he is. Yeah. So he'll do a gas attack at some point. You can see a little bit of green in the background too with like the sewer grates. Oh, well, I guess this player dies pretty quickly because that guy is tough. By the way, this gameplay is from The Tourist on YouTube. So shout out to The Tourist. Have them linked in the description as always. But I know we're getting into one of your favorite parts of the game, Tom. What is it? Tell the people.
So the sound. I kind of wish that we were still there. I would have turned on the sound, but we'll probably get back into the main game in a hot second because I want to play a little bit for everybody, especially this. It is. And there's no secret here. I think it's no secret that like both of us really the soundtracks that we've loved in our time doing this podcast have always been a little bit of Western themes, right? Like a little like Wizard with a Gun.
Wizard with a Gun, yep.
This one, I guess that's probably it, but but it's still, it makes sense right now for me to make this point. But super catchy. It's very repetitive, right? But like, listen, you get one good riff, you let it ride. And in the second level, which is as far as I got, this is, like I said, very challenging game. It's still quite good. Not as good as that first one. We're about to get it. Let me see if I can play it for you all real quick.
Yeah, should be able to, I believe.
Let's see. We're gonna see if I can play it.
Oh yeah. Those sound effects too.
Oh yeah. The gun sounds sound great. Just some really cool, even like it's like you hear like a little bat running around shooting beams at you. You're like, this sounds really good. It's very satisfying. When you're rolling, even it has like a nice little sound to it. I really enjoyed the sound design here as well as the music, as we just pointed out. It's very, very catchy and kind of just like makes you just, and this is like the key. We've talked about this before. Like it makes you just like be totally content with like doing something really hard, right? Mm-hmm. And that could be repetitive, and you're just like, man, this is so tough, and like it could be tedious sometimes, like when you're like really trying to like dodge all these bullets in this bullet hell. And but you have this really sick soundtrack going on. You're like, okay, everything's going to be all right. And yeah, huge fan. I mean, I don't have much to add from besides that. And yeah, big fan.
Yeah, I agree. That was like the soundtrack was something that kind of surprised me. You know, I was like, oh, it's going to be Western themed. But yeah, it makes you feel like a badass, especially with like the way the guns sound. You know, it's like a good combination. You know, and the way that the enemies sound, you know, it worked for me. I would have maybe liked a little bit more, at least for the rat boss. Like, I don't know, some interesting sounds that he maybe could make. But you know, maybe the other bosses have some more interesting sounds as well. But overall, I mean, that's just a really small nitpick. The soundtrack for the game is great. This is the room I was talking about before, by the way, where like the slimes just walk over those beams. So that was just kind of confused me a little bit. But yeah, sound in the game, they did a great job with it. And yeah, it's I don't have too many notes with the music, but you know, props to the composer, whoever it is, whatever track they downloaded and layered it in GarageBand and threw it in here, whatever it is. Definitely some good vibes from this one.
It was sick. Now, unfortunately, I think performance might be where I had the most complaints. It was a little buggy at times. I did run into some bugs where like you would get stuck or the enemy would get stuck, or even I had like some controller issues at one point. But that being said, I think that the majority of that was hotfixed or at least patched, because it was more in my first playthrough. I played it the day it came out, and I played a decent more the weekend after. So it didn't feel like it was repeating as much. So I can't really knock it down too many points.
Yeah, I mentioned that my own fault controller issue, performance wise. I didn't have too many issues of like people getting stuck, but I could see how that could happen in a game like this. Something I did notice is that I'm often like when we're playing games on the show, I'm alt tabbing out so I can take some notes. So I noticed with this game, even if I don't have it, they have a full screen option in the options. I didn't have that on. It still kind of acts like it's full screen. And there were times where it wouldn't let me alt tab back into the game. I had to actually close the game and reopen it. It would show the game for like a second and then it would just minimize again. So that was an issue for me, but it's just something where I was just like, all right, I guess I'm just not going to alt tab. I'll just take some notes on my phone or something like that. And then just another weird thing is I actually couldn't choose my resolution. It sets one by default, and by no means this obviously isn't a super high definition kind of game, but my monitor is like a 1440p monitor, so I always like to play games in that resolution. But for whatever reason, actually in the menu, when you choose a resolution, there's a big list and I couldn't scroll. I couldn't figure out how to scroll down the list. I tried the arrow keys, WASD, just the scroll wheel. And I couldn't get to my resolution, but I could see there were more resolutions and I wasn't at the bottom of the list. So that was just a weird thing. And I think that just might be a side effect of this being that, I think you mentioned kind of like a game jam. It started as like a game jammy kind of game. Is they always focus on the gameplay aspects, when they're doing that sort of stuff. The other stuff, as far as the options go, or accessibility options and things like that, they don't really take a front seat. So that's just, maybe something that they could easily patch out. Also, I do want to bring up too that the publisher for this game, Retro Vibe, also is the publisher for Project Warlock, which is a game that we both know. Yeah, which is a solo dev game that's pretty cool. So, and also Project Warlock 2. I believe there's a second one that's out now. So pretty cool there. But yeah, so some performance issues, probably more than what we're used to talking about when we review games, but just something to keep in mind. And I think that also, if the game doesn't support controller, but clearly you were able to use it, maybe there should be some sort of pop-up that happens when you plug a controller in that just says hey, this isn't fully supported, so play at your own risk sort of thing. Because then that would have told me, oh, I have a controller plugged in. I know it's my own fault, but maybe just a good message to have, especially if there are going to be some small issues if people try to use a controller, which this is a game I feel people, probably a good amount of people will look at this and be like, oh, like I'm going to use controller for this style of game. So maybe just something there, but I guess that's not like fully performance related. But it's time, Tom. It's time for the ratings.
The ratings are here, folks. This is an interesting one to rate. I think, whoa. Yeah, hello. So first of all, ratings are as follows. You have Certified Fresh Juice, best games ever. A steal after that. And then you also get on sale right in the middle. Your middle tier, a lot of games coming at that. Manager special, got to be pretty specific.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's really bad, but maybe a little bit redeemable. And then you have your spoiled milk, which is games we don't really want you to waste your time or money on. For me, this is I think throughout my game playing of this game, I kind of really fell in love with it. I don't think it's quite a certified fresh juice. There are some issues that I would like to see cleared up or something like, used in future games from this dev. Where they kind of take it and run, but I think it's a steal for on sale right now, right? It's a pretty great price, but even at $10, I think you're going to get like a good chunk of value out of this game. If you like games like Enter the Gungeon, if you like things like Bleak Sword, I think that this is going to be a nice little fix for you. It's not quite the deepest game, but I can't really discount it because I had a lot of fun with it and I kept finding even when I was like doing other stuff, I kept finding myself booting it back up and just playing a couple more runs, which was like a really good sign. So a steal for me.
I'm right there with you. I'm giving this one a steal. I want to play more of it, and that's just an indication to me of like how much I did enjoy it, especially once I got it actually working with the mouse and keyboard. Because it's one of those games where I just am like, I can do this. Like I can get through this. I can beat this rat boss. I can get to the next biome. So yeah, I'm giving this a solid steal as well. I think for the price, it's definitely worth it. And yet, like you said, even if it was full price, I think it'd be worth it as well. I would like to see maybe this game on mobile at some point too. I could see myself playing it on mobile. I also got the idea of like, it'd be really cool to basically rebuild this game in like Questmaster and, have like a Zelda sort of version of like a bullet hell kind of thing, which could be fun. But yeah, no, I'm giving it a solid steal. Good find, Tom, for sure. And good work to the devs for this one.
Amen. I think that here's a question for you before we get to listener questions. You never played Enter the Gungeon.
That's correct. Yeah.
Would you want to after this?
Yeah. I mean, if it's similar, sure. Yeah.
I think you'd enjoy it. I think you'd really, if you enjoyed this, I think you'd really enjoy Enter the Gungeon.
Cool. Yeah. So, good to know.
Not to like steal the thunder away from Undead West because Undead West is really good too.
Yeah.
So we do have listener questions. You can submit these on the Discord, which we do have, which is cool.
Yeah.
Or you could be one of our wives, but that's neither here nor there. The first question comes from Eugen, who states and asks, I really loved your Slay the Spire episode with one of you being a veteran of the game and the other who has never played. Thank you.
Thanks.
That was a fun idea. Maybe we'll have to redo that soon. Maybe in January. Would you consider making more of that kind of episodes in the future? I think we would. Like a hidden gems / cool games you might have missed type deal. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's a game you would do? Maybe Enter the Gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon. I know you love Loop Hero. That could be another one that I'd be willing to check out, I don't know. There's definitely a good amount of like indie gems that I have not played that you probably have. I'm trying to think of like if there's anything that I'm like a veteran at that you've never played that's indie. Other than like
I never
Val.
played
like-
Super Meat Boy.
Oh, okay. Super Meat Boy is a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. And there's like a lot of survival games I've played that are indie, but those take a lot of time to play to really like understand. So I don't know if that's something that you want to do, but I like that idea of kind of maybe having like a special episode, right? Where it's like one of us is a really like a veteran at a game and the other one has never played it before. Cause I do like that perspective.
I think it's a great episode, but like also I think in tandem with it, bear with me. I think it'd be fun to do like a stream or a gameplay series
Ooh.
where I'm just sitting, like not sitting there with you, or just like we could be on a Discord call while you're playing, and I'm like, we're chatting, and I'm kind of like talking to you while you experience the game, vice versa.
Yeah, no, I like that. I've done that. I believe with Sea of Thieves. Maria had played. She wanted to play Sea of Thieves, and I was like, all right, I'll just sit there.
And Elden Ring.
And Elden Ring, yes, yeah. So it's always a fun time doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'd be down for that. Maybe our first fresh juice stream of 2025. Boom, good idea.
Oh my God.
Yeah, thanks for another great question, by the way, Eugen. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eugen. Now, let's see if Baz can ask a good question. No, I'm kidding. Bags asked, if you could choose an old console to have new games made for it again, what console would you choose?
I think for me, it would be GameCube. Okay. I just think it would be cool to have a new GameCube game. I don't know if he means like having a modern game made for an old console or having just a new game for an old console. I don't know. I just had so many good times playing GameCube games. I always just thought it was so cool getting the little disc too. I'm like, this is just awesome. So yeah, probably GameCube. I guess as a runner up, it would probably be like Game Boy, some sort of Game Boy Advance, SP, something like that. Would be cool as well. I know there are companies that do make like new retro games for the old consoles that work, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'll go with GameCube. What about you, Tommy?
I think Game Boy Color, right? I love the feel of the Game Boy Color. It's like the closest thing you get to just playing your phone. Right?
Okay, I didn't know where you were going with that for a second.
Like you're like, okay, right? You're just like,
yeah, it's
just a little bit fatter and it's got like some heft to it. You can feel those AA batteries in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the Game Boy Color, maybe not the best in ergonomics for handheld. One of my, it's like this is it. This is I gotta remind myself, I'm not in the beer industry anymore, but it's comparing glass bottles to aluminum cans when you're drinking a beer, because largely people are moving away from the glass bottles. But I gotta say, nothing feels as good as holding the glass bottle of a beer and drinking it.
Yeah.
I say that while I have a can of beer here, but like, golly, if that was a bottle, really.
Yeah. And then, it's a weapon too, if you need it to be.
Sure.
So
I mean, listen.
So
you said it.
you would say that Game Boy Color is a better feel than like a Game Boy Advance?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
So I do like the Game Boy SP, the Game Boy Advance SP.
Okay.
But it comes back down to that like this rather than this.
Yeah.
I like this. I do like this. Holy smokes. Now that you got me down the rabbit hole, Bags, listen to this. What if we got a new Game Boy Color, right? That you play it. It's literally a Game Boy Color, but it now has the gyroscope so that some games you can just play like this.
Oh.
And the screen flips. Like the not the actual screen, but like the virtual screen flips, and you're just like, oh, I'm one-handing it,
Yeah, could be. You never know. I was actually thinking, I was like, how cool would it be if they did like a special edition of like the Switch and it was like a vertical one instead of it being.
That would be sick too.
So I don't know how that would work, but that would be kind of cool.
I bet that you could probably make like a like something for it where you can have it in regular Switch mode, and then the apparatus that it's on is like it flips, and then the two Joy-Cons come in like this, and you're just holding it like a freaking like a fly swatter or something like that.
Yeah, be a little top heavy maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
We'll be talking about the Switch too, probably sooner than you think.
Mhm.
Capolo asks, do you consume any video game content? If yes, what are your favorite sources to consume video game content?
I do. Yes. So I Kind of Funny. I brought them up before. They've got a few different gaming podcasts. I love Kind of Funny Games Daily is a great podcast. They also have they stream it. So sometimes when I'm working, I'll just throw up like the Twitch stream of it, and they do it like, it's 5 days a week, and it's always like the latest gaming news. It's just a really great way for me to stay up to date with like what's going on, even when it's stuff that like I don't really care about. It's still kind of like interesting. And then I also just like I watch like some Twitch streamers. Usually it's just while I'm working. Gathalion is a cool Twitch streamer. He plays a lot of games that I like. I think it's with streamers, it's about finding the ones that like play the kind of games that you like, obviously, and then obviously if the personality jives with you. But yeah, I would say that. And then really outside of those two, it's really just like seeing stuff on Twitter or like my feed on my phone, or like talking, like we share stuff on Instagram chat. That's usually how I'm getting like some video game content that way. But yeah, that's probably how I'm getting it usually. What about you, Tom?
Yeah. So I think I've talked about some content creators I've watched before. Northern Lion. I definitely watch a lot of Northern Lion videos. And then J Rose, I forget the number, J Rose 13.
Oh, yeah.
The one who does the single Pokemon challenges. I've been watching a lot of Raffle on YouTube. He still plays a ton of Balatro. Really like the opposite of what I would normally watch. In terms of personality wise, he's kind of very wooden, but like in a way that like
he's wooden.
He's got a wooden personality. He's like very like stoic.
I just pictured you like watching like a puppet, or like like Pinocchio's like playing Balatro.
Oh, it'd be sick. Yeah, he's got like a very like stoic personality and a little sarcastic, and then you kind of get like I get excited when like he gets excited, because like that means what happened was really cool. And he's also always posting videos of like the most ridiculous Balatro runs ever. Yeah, he's like, what if we had 5 Stenchel Jokers or whatever? And you're like, what if? I want to know. So that's some good stuff there.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if you saw, I saw this right before the show, but someone basically has done with Balatro what people did with Tetris, where they figured out like an end game sort of build that crashes the game. So we've reached that point with Balatro where people can now crash the game because of their score.
Oh, it's so sick.
Yeah.
Big number go up. Big number go up. Next question comes from K Moore. The highly anticipated Fresh Juice Game of the Year award is coming up, which I guess will be New Year's Day. It will come out.
Yeah.
Any contenders out there to take down your beloved gambling game?
No. I don't know.
What did we play this year?
I mean, we've obviously talked about Balatro the most. We got Animal Well on there. I mean, we can look at like our certified fresh juices. Halls of Torment, Preserve, Ember Ward, Haunty, Boar Blasters. There's a lot of great ones, but Balatro's to me is the one that I'm always going back to, especially since it's on mobile. Who knows what's in store for the rest of the year, though? I mean, we got a few more episodes left, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll confirm it in that Game of the Year episode, but I don't think anything's going to topple it for me.
Yeah, we're going to have to actually, you know what we should do? We'll come up with categories, so it's not just the Balatro episode again. Best art, maybe best gameplay, best art, and then best overall, and like story and sound, blah 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 blah. Because Balatron's not winning story. So unless it does, you're like, you know what? Every single time I play it, it's like kind of a story in itself.
Yeah,
and it's kind of writing itself.
My gambling story.
Yeah. But thank you for the question, Kmore.
Yeah.
And then finally, R Carp asks, "What is the best holiday cookie?"
Actually, I just group chat with the boys. They just asked this, and I let's see. Maria makes like these they were like her Nana's cookies. They're like these lemon cookies with like a twist, and it's got like sprinkles on it. Those are really good. But I've always been like a big ginger snap guy. I know it's pretty basic, right? It's not like anything fancy, anything crazy, but I love ginger snaps. So Maria's made some. They're downstairs. I'll probably have some soon now that my mouth is feeling better. I couldn't eat for 3 hours. But yeah, I'm going to just go with ginger snap. It's classic. I love it. But I love a lot of holiday cookies, What about you, Tom?
Oh man. Well, you know what? I would be remiss to not just say the asker of this question, I think she knows that she makes my favorite cookie, like holiday cookie, because she only usually makes it around the holidays that I've ever had. And I had never really eaten them until, I was with this person. It's my wife. This random asker of questions. It is her pinoli cookies. And if you don't know what a pinoli cookie is, it's like it's like an almond cookie, which I love almond flavor like the most ever. It's the best dessert flavor ever. And it's like kind of covered in pine nuts. So if you're not into pine nuts or allergic to them, if you're allergic to pine nuts, you're probably allergic to almond. Just stay away from these cookies. But I swear to God, it is like, it's the best. It's so good. So I got to give it to pinoli cookies. Although, if I'm going best cookie all time, you got to give it the chocolate chip. Listen, yeah. It's the best.
How do you like your chocolate chip cookies?
In my mouth.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Typically.
Soft or chewy or crunchy?
I don't like them unbelievably crunchy.
Okay. No Chips Ahoy.
Yeah. Chips.
I mean, they're terrible.
That's Chips Ahoy.
But they're crunchy. Yeah.
I will say a box of chewy Chips Ahoy
came
across my desk.
Oh my God.
We might have problems.
Yeah. Chewy's, I love chewy cookies. I mean, obviously other than ginger snaps. I'm also a big fan of almond too. I love almond biscotti.
Oh,
love it.
Dude.
Yeah. So I'll have to try those pinoli cookies.
Maybe for New Year's, maybe convince she's listening right now. Book it. So yeah. I mean, I love cookies, chocolate chips, but I'll mess with like any consistency of chocolate chip. I guess I want it somewhere in the middle. I don't want it like dough, but I also don't want it like a Chips Ahoy. So.
Yeah. Are you big cookie guy? Is like cookies like your vice, or
it's not my vice, but like I don't get excited about a lot of sweets, but there's something about like cookies.
Yeah.
Cookies and ice cream. Those are my two things.
Yeah, and they're great together too.
You give me a chip wish, brother. I'm losing it. And I'm on a toilet immediately after, but worth it. But yeah, thanks for the question. R Carp. That's time for the rec room. folks. This is where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game. What do you have to recommend?
So I am recommending a game that I probably have recommended before, but the reason I'm recommending it is because it's actually free to claim right now until December 19th. So if you're listening to this, the day comes out, you got 1 day to claim it on the Epic Game Store. It is The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. It's free to own. All you got to do is open up the Epic Store, add it to your cart, and check out, and it's free. Really great survival game. They've added some cool updates. I've had some of the guys claim it as well, so hopefully we'll get a little play session going. I think you can play with like up to 8 players too, which is cool. They've got like a story mode, so if you're into Lord of the Rings and you care about some of the lore stuff, it's got some really cool things in it, some callbacks to oh my god, did you see the movie?
I saw the movie.
Okay, that's what that was. I didn't know because it just said The Lord of the Rings. I'm like, is he going to like an orchestra thing? It was like on Instagram. So it's great. And they have a sandbox mode too. So if you're just into like playing survival games, you don't really care too much about the story, you can just play it as a survival game if you want to. But yeah, Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, highly recommend it. A lot of fun. Get to play as a dwarf, get to drink. I mean, come on. It's awesome. So that's the rec of the week.
Sick. Yeah, I forgot to mention it in the recap that the weekly recap that I did go see the War of the Rohirrim anime Lord of the Rings movie, which I did enjoy. I don't think I enjoyed it quite enough to be the rec room because it's a hard rec, right? You have to be a diehard Lord of the Rings fan and also not hate anime. So. Yeah. But I did go and I did get this. If for the listeners or viewers, sorry, I got the popcorn bucket, which is a hammer from the character Helm Hammerhand, who, spoiler alert, is the namesake for Helm's Deep, which is a really cool part of the movie. But my recommendation is a band called Kingfisher that is spelled like you would think Kingfisher is spelled, except without the E at the end with the R. So they are I think they're an Irish band, but they got like some cool, very folky vibes that like also blend into a little bit of a rockier kind of thing as well. And they just like great voices and just like anything that, it's very funny. This just popped up on my screen. I just saw that our friend Will is playing Balatro on screen right now. I got him back in.
Shout out Will, baby.
Shout out. Yeah, they got some great songs. I would say Shadows is a great one. They don't have like a full album out yet. Which is kind of exciting because it means that there's some great stuff to come. A song called Caroline, I Cried, I Wept, and then they just put out like a mini EP or like a single with a song called Bet on Beauty, which is good, but I really like the Kila, which is like an Irish name of sorts. That's like a really nice little Irish tune. So check them out. They're a good listen.
Cool. Hell yeah. Kingfisher. And question about that popcorn thing. They gave you that and you were in the theater with that?
Yeah. I knew that they were selling this. I thought it was at Regal, but it ended up being at AMC. And I saw they had it on display. I'm like, can I buy one of those? I'm like, yeah. And it just came I had to assemble it. And then I just dumped my popcorn in here. I was just like,
you just had a hammer.
Popcorn there.
How much they get you for that? Out of curiosity.
$35.
Oh, okay. All right. It's not. I was thinking it'd be 50 plus.
Honestly, pretty sick. I could have also got like a plastic kind of mug for my drink, but that wasn't as cool as this bad boy.
Yeah.
This
that's awesome.
is pretty sick. And then when you actually see it in action, you're like, all right, this is worth it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I still gotta see that movie. I'll have to catch it soon.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be available soon on stuff. Yeah, I don't. It's like one of those ones. Like I don't know if I'd rush out to see it, but like I don't know. A Lord of the Rings movie was in theaters. I'm gonna go see it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's like a Rings of Power situation. It's like,
yeah.
Lord of the
Just
Rings.
gonna watch it.
I want to watch it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Cool.
But that's gonna do it.
There
That's
we
gonna
go.
do it, brother.
Yeah.
So next week's Christmas, we'll have a nice Christmas episode featuring not a Christmas game, but listen, beggars can't be choosers. It's gonna be Billionaire.
Yes, it is.
You happy, Capolo? I'm gonna tear it to shreds. You can continue to find me on all socials at FreshBudsPod. Really rocking Blue Sky more than Twitter these days, but I'm still on both. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds on all platforms as well. I talk about a game called Flesh and Blood, which is going to have a really cool new set coming out in January featuring assassins. Very cool.
Nice.
And yeah, you can also find us on all socials at Fresh Juice Pod. Matthew, where can people find you?
Find me at Matty Gorm on all the socials and everything. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. And yeah, that's where you can find me if you want to. Go for it.
Juice!